And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. The Vlogcast started a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because I wanted to wear a whimsy shirt today. So tonight I am actually wearing my Shadow Bolts riding jersey for biking because I don't ask questions, all right? Just accept it. It's just kind of the way that it is. You want to look it up? You can look it up. Shadow Bolts. Don't worry about it. Part of this is follow through with the old adage that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble, and you can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. That's Shujin. Hi, it's good to be back with you. It's been quite the week, so we'll kind of see what's been going on at the moment. I will introduce, though he's not currently able to talk to us just yet, from the right-hand coast of the U.S., Unreno Tech will be joining us momentarily. He's finishing up some stuff on his side. And from the left-hand coast, rejoining, which a little bit surprised me because of timing with stuff, Io is back. Hi. I'm assuming that you're there?
Yeah, I'm there.
There you are. Getting a
I just
little
went,
rude.
hi.
Yeah.
You know, like Stitch. Hi.
I don't, because I've never seen the movie.
You gotta see the movie.
I've heard that. I've
And
also heard
try
that about a lot of other movies, but
if you see it in the VHS version. Don't see the Disney Plus version because they've done some editing.
I don't have Disney Plus, so it's not even a worry.
Good. Good. Basically, after about 2010, they decided, you know, Lilo shouldn't go hide in a dryer. That would be a bad thing.
Well, they also did a couple of other edits to various movies, which also included Aladdin. If you know, you know, as the expression goes. But we'll deal with that one later. So, hi, folks. Yeah, it's us. We're back. And, oh boy. This is going to prove to be a very interesting show because I did not mark it as a not safe for work episode, but I'm expecting it's going to be real close to that line for a couple of moments. So, we'll see how this plays out. If you'd like to join us as we do this live over there on YouTube, of course, as always, feel free and be part of the live chat over there because that's kind of the way that it works. Stephanie, good morning. Good to have you back. I don't know how the weather has been over your side. It has been interesting over here in the Buffalo market this past week. It's been hot and not exactly muggy, which has been fine. We've not had any tornadoes, only a little bit of like stormy rain kind of thing. But oh my god, I can definitely tell that there is a difference in the axial tilt because I'm getting much, much more sunburn on the retina of my eyes now with the way that the sun is moving across the sky. It's becoming an annoyance. And it wouldn't be so bad, except that we've still got to deal with the freaking yellow jackets coming around because the yellow jackets are still coming around. So, go us! There's no easy way of dealing with it, so is what it is. Other than that, I don't have very much interesting to fill folks in on a personal level. So, oh well and good. You were a little bit busy earlier, and we're not going to go too far totally into because it's going to be part and parcel of what'll end up coming up in a little bit. But you want to fill folks in on roughly what was going on and how things gave you a smile?
I was at a rally for a local counselor. She's going up against somebody who's gotten money from the predatory landlords in the area. So she's a grassroots type of counselor. She will fight for the little man because she has been fighting for the little man forever. Her district is the second poorest in the area. The one that I live in is the first. And the person that she's going up against um, has the name of the previous person. So husband wife type thing. So now it's the wife's turn.
Gotcha.
And it's gonna get interesting. But the fun part was that I don't think it was the head of the county's Democratic Party, or it might have been the secretary. It was somebody. And they might be listening, watching either now or later. I don't know. I gave them my card. So if they want to find it, yay.
That would be really cool.
Hmm.
That would be really cool. So if we do happen to have folks from out that area who are watching us for the first time because you spoke to somebody and they suggested you drop in on us, hi. It's good to have you. And promise, we have no intention of making people upset intentionally. It may still happen in various areas, but you know what? It comes with the context. But we do try our best not to be intentionally antagonistic. Except for one person who shall remain Nephilim free because, well, he's the guy that believes in the lunar bukkake theory of where all the water went after the Great Flood, which loosely translates to all the water ejected out into the atmosphere, and those aren't craters on the moon, that's the impacts of whales. That's a real thing, apparently.
I have never heard of this theory.
Yeah, it's a thing.
You know, I've just been listening to podcasts and other YouTube videos for the last couple of hours since I got home, and oh boy, the Satanic Temple's having fun again.
This should prove to be interesting.
Yeah.
So, how about we go get things started? We'll have me do the open. We'll do the horrible scopes, and then we'll talk about all the fun that's been going on for me, because I've been sitting on this for a couple of weeks to talk about. Trust me, I got enough vitriol for us all. So, with 5 minutes on the clock for you, your 5-minute freestyle is going to start right now. Debatable. For those of you that were paying attention kind of last minute of it all, we decided to go ahead and live stream and react to the presidential debate that happened this past week between current incumbent Vice President Kamala Harris and ex 2 times impeached ex-president, former president Donald Trump. Now, we normally don't do this kind of thing. It's exceedingly rare for something like that to have happen. And it was good to do. It was really good to do. Even if we did it last minute, we've got it on the record for how we reacted to some of the stuff that ended up happening. And my God, was there stuff to be reacting to. And as any good, fair personality, we were listening for stuff. And do we have our favorites? Of course we do. But we were also fairly looking at, listening to, and going, you know what? Answer the question. Answer the question. Answer the damn question already. And it worked both ways. It didn't matter who it was that we were listening to at any one time. We still had the temerity to go ahead and say, look, I don't care if we do like you or don't like you. If you're given a question and you don't answer the question, we may be just, a couple of folks just, out there in the aether talking, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to call it out. Answer the damn question. Or, better yet, if the moderators aren't doing their job, we'll call out the moderators. And we did. We also knew full well that there is a couple of possibilities for why moderation worked the way that it did, or more appropriately, didn't work the way that it did. And we had some plausible reasons for why things played out the way that they did. Some made sense. Some annoyingly made sense. Some were just... The idea that some people were just incompetent at their job came into our overall thought, but we knew full well that there was a much more likely possibility that the problem of that was simply, if it bleeds, it leads. Because vitriol and yelling and screaming, that generates eyeballs. Annoyingly. So what are you going to do? But we watched and we listened and we were paying attention. And we were just a couple of people. And even we, who were not exactly well-versed in poli-sci, we are not politicians, we're lay people. We're listening to this and we're going, okay, there are certain pieces of information that we should be getting. Where is it? You were asked a question. We're looking for the answer to the question. Where is it? And over and over and over again, this is what we end up with. Problems come up when groups just go with whatever their boilerplate speech is. A debate is not a pep rally. It's not a rah-rah. It's not where you go and you make your stump speech to rally up the troops. A debate is where you go in and you are given a question and you are supposed to answer the question in a way that brings people on board for what you want to do. There's ways of doing it. A lot of what we ended up seeing, this debate, wasn't an answer. It was a pep rally speech. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I don't care your political affiliations. People, give us the answer first, because that's the important part. You want us to be on board? Cool. Tell us what we're supposed to be on board for first. So, was it a debate? In name. But as with the title of this particular 5-minute freestyle, it was really debatable on my side if it was really worthwhile for a lot of pieces. So that out of the way, we get on over to the horrible scopes because, well, it's time to get back on over to the horrible scopes. And before we go ahead and do that, Unrenode Tech did pop shop. So, hi, Chief.
Hey there. Yeah, the debate was debatable.
Exactly. Exactly, which was annoying, but you know what? We got through it.
We did get through it. And in my opinion, of the two giving quote unquote answers, I would say Ms. The vice president gave more answers, definitive answers, although not as full of details as we wanted,
Agreed.
than Oompa Loompa Mussolini did.
Very agreed. So, it's time for the horrible scopes.
Oompa Loompa Mussolini.
Okay, first off, I did not take credit for that. I don't take credit for that name. That was actually somebody else came up with it on the internet. And it just kind of stuck in my head. So let's hear about Fredonia.
Yes. So, for those of you that know what your astrological sign is, cool. Those of you that don't, you can just flip a coin, make it up as you go along, roll a d12 with the little squiggles on it. You don't have one of those with the little squiggles on it? You can order it from the nice folks over there at Heart of the Game Fredonia. they let me keep mentioning them and don't send me a cease and desist letter, so that's good on our part. So they appreciate us, apparently. And yes, they can actually sell you those. You have to have a U.S. address to send it to, but they can sell it, they can ship it to you. Get in touch with them over there on Facebook. Heart of the Game, Fredonia. Hail, hail, Fredonia. Home of the Blue Devil. This is the shop with the mimic in the window. I hope. Now, we could have used, as inspiration, various named hurricanes to give you something to think about, seeing as how it's still hurricane season here in North America. But we're having way too much fun teaching things while warning you how to live your lives at the same time. So it's a win-win for us all. So get ready to calibrate your coconuts as we elevate your educatedness. Educatedness. I don't care if it's a real word or not. All words are made up. I don't care. It is now. That's the way that it works. And there is a hidden Easter egg in there for some people that love science TVs shows with rats. Aries, we know why that radio career you wanted never materialized. It's because you don't like the sound of your own voice. Now, sure, a lot of people don't like how they sound on recordings, but that's only because of the bones in our heads. See, sound travels differently through different mediums at different rates, and especially different frequencies do. The bones in your head make your voice sound deeper than it actually is. So this week, there are ways to train your voice to sound deeper. Might we suggest primal scream therapy? It is not the best by a long shot, but it just might work. And, of course, as always, never take medical advice from a podcast, or legal advice, or electronic theory advice. Don't theoretical physics. Don't take advice from a podcast.
Taurus, now I have a cool one to tack onto this. Remember all those gene permutation boxes you had to draw in biology classes as a kid? Well, here's one to add to that experience. There are roughly 3 ginger male cats to 1 ginger female because the ginger gene is found on the X chromosome. Meaning, female cats would require 2 copies of the gene to become ginger, and males only need 1. So this week, if you see a black cat on Friday the 13th, pet it. No, there's no cosmic reason for it. It's a cat. Be nice to it, and stop questioning why you should be nice, for crying out loud. Fun fact, in terms of calico cats, only 1 in every 3,000 calico cats born is a male.
Same reason?
I didn't read up the study. I just remember having read it at one point. The details of it are still there. I could probably pull it up.
Gemini, we're not going to sugarcoat this for you. Wind turbines kill between 10,000 and 100,000 birds each year in the UK. Yes, it's a large range to pick from, but it's not easy to quantify the numbers, seeing as how carrion critters will be all, ooh, food, nom 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 nom, faster than the statisticians can go, oops, got another one. Interestingly enough, painting one of the blades black can reduce bird deaths by 70%. So this week, we know what you're planning to do. Do not paint a spiral across all 3 blades in the hopes of hypnotizing the human population so you can take over. It doesn't work. All glory to the hypno turbine. All glory to the hypno turbine. All glory to the hypno turbine.
It doesn't work on me. All glory to the hypnotoad.
We did this yesterday, and I actually did the hypnotoad thing.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Dallin was the one that got this one.
That must have been great.
Yes, it was.
You should start recording those.
They are recorded.
Ooh.
Just ask nicely, and I'll let you have it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think about it, and I suddenly realize the ranges from 10,000 to 100,000 birds in the UK I get the funny feeling that it doesn't exactly translate to like American units because it's in like metric base 10 sets. So maybe that's why the disparity seems kind of weird for us.
Wait, what?
Can't
10,000 birds in the UK is 10,000 birds in the US.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you do the conversion from metric to imperial, I mean,
There is
you
no
have to
conversion from
Cancer
metric to
Moonchild.
imperial.
Cancer Moonchild, you've got some serious universe-wide assumptions going on in your head. Be a shame if someone came along and screwed with them, huh? Well, that's just what we're about to do, so listen closely. There's no such thing as a straight line. And it's true. Zoom in close enough to anything, and you'll spot irregularities. Buy the best calligraphy pen, the most precise straight edge, the flattest tabletop, and the smoothest paper, and draw a line. The closer you look, the more frustrating it'll be for you. So this week, you think a beam of laser light will break the rule? Oh, you cad! Even photons of light are bent by gravity. Nice try, though. A for effort.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson was on a show, and they showed a picture of a cue ball and then a close-up of it under a microscope.
Mm-hmm.
And he pointed out that if you were able to shrink the Earth to the exact same size of the cue ball, the Earth would be smoother than the surface of the cue ball.
Yep.
That blew my mind.
It's amazing, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it's my turn. Leo, you're thinking you have an actual get out of jail free card because you have an identical twin? We have some bad news for you. Yes, genetically, you might be the same person since, the same DNA. But sorry to say, identical twins don't have the same fingerprints. So this week, you've got two choices here. And we're going to suggest the better option. Don't do a crime.
It's a good option.
Virgo. Land-based animals on Earth have developed a lot of methods for communication, most centered around generating and detecting of pressure waves in the atmosphere. Sound. But what if we told you that humans not only have developed a chemical-based method of communicating, but it's already hardwired into you? There is a theory that suggests we've evolved to sweat with a different chemical makeup when anxious. This alerts other humans nearby so that they are primed for whatever it is that's making us anxious. So this week, you should still take a shower before bed every night. You spend 6 hours or more a night wrapped in cloth, and you should keep it as clean as possible.
See, that wouldn't actually surprise me because there were times where human beings had to be quiet. Otherwise, we were ground beef.
Yeah. Yeah. And the best part about writing that one up is realizing just the volume of different types of communication. I mean, volume. What do I know about volume?
I mean, they did it on Star Trek Next Generation with Picard. He gave a look to Worf, and Worf captured some aliens in a shield.
Yeah.
The look went to Riker. Riker went to Worf and to Wesley and Data, and
Yes.
when it went back to Riker, it did the bounce around, and they were all prepared because of nonverbal communication.
Correct. What I was going to say is that there is an episode of Star Trek Next Generation where Picard proved with a look to aliens that there's more than one way to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And you don't have to look too much further on this terrestrial planet than a lot of insects who communicate with pheromones. So it ain't so far-fetched. I mean, ask anybody that's got medical problems, what they smell like. Okay, my feet, all right? We're not...
Or halitosis.
I'm not supposed to be... Libra, what do we say about doggos when we see them? They're good girls. Yes, they are. I mean, yeah, they could be good boys, too. I mean, that's cool, too. Anyway, you think it's cute the way they tilt their head when you talk to them, right? It's almost like they're really paying attention to you. And they kind of sort of are. Dogs tilt their heads to better pinpoint familiar words and to help them better understand the tone of your voice. Because there's a difference between want to go for walkies versus want to go to the vet for a neutering. So this week, let's be fair. You'd probably be more inclined to actively listen to questions posed to you if you ended up having a kidney removed because you missed something when someone was asking you if it was all right to do it. Go watch the Llamas with Hats collection on YouTube again. And I just realized I didn't link that in the show notes. I should really do that.
Yes, you should.
Yeah, I probably should.
Scorpio, what would last longer? The average marriage or the life expectancy of a cat? Well, considering the longest lived cat made it to 38 years, 3 days old, it's not going to be easy to pick on that one, huh? Considering a house cat's expected life is about 14 years, that's pretty damn impressive. So this week, buy a little cake in celebration of Cream Puff, the oldest cat to ever live. And remember, you earned that cake.
Birthday calories don't count. It's important.
Sagittarius, you want to learn something totally mind-blowing? You know how some people talk in their sleep? Guess what deaf people do? That's right, they talk too, but not via vocalizations. A case study of a 71-year-old man with rapid eye with drink
Stunt lips.
rented lips. I really ought to get a new pair. A case study of a 71-year-old man with rapid eye movement disorder and a severe hearing impairment showed him using fluent sign language in his sleep. So this week, there's only one surefire way to keep them from learning what you're dreaming about, man. You gotta wrap fingers in duct tape before you go to sleep. No, it's not a kink thing. It's a conspiracy thing. But only use the super cheap stuff at the dollar store. They can't track you if you pay with cash.
Or you could just put a sock over your hands. Fun thing, Shujin, you know any choir people when you were doing the whole band thing?
What about them?
Well, I was one of those choir people who dabbled in band, but I was predominantly choir. I ended up practicing songs so much that apparently I sing in my sleep. Uh-huh. So when people ask me why I no longer want to hear or watch West Side Story, Oliver, The Sound of Music,
That's fair.
there's reasons.
It's ingrained in you somewhere. Really, really, really hardwired now. I get you. Capricorn, yes, fish are weird. We think they have low attention and poor memory retention, but they can work together surprisingly well. When evacuating through narrow spaces in sketchy situations, schools of neon tetrafish queue so that they don't collide or clog up the line they're traveling through. Which means either they don't panic like we do, or they value their personal space more than their safety. So this week, you're not responsible enough to own a fish tank. You wouldn't even know how to drive it. You don't even know what octane to put in it. Stick to feeding the pigeons in the park with Tom Lehrer.
It just takes a smidgen to poison a pigeon in the park. Sorry, I love that song. Aquarius.
I'm
You know,
I'm torn because I'm glad that the joke made it, but I'm also kind of upset that you spoiled the joke. It's fine. It's fine.
I'm just no.
it's a good song. You should listen to it.
It's a good song.
Aquarius. We know how old the question is. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, plants came before seeds. The earliest plants were basically single-celled moss, reproducing by cloning themselves. Multicellular seeds didn't evolve for another 150 million years after that. So this week, we could make a "you're not getting sex this week" joke, but really, we're bigger than that. Meaning bigger than you.
That one.
Around the forest looking for vines. Sorry.
Gentlemen, do I have to get out the nanometers?
I'd break it.
What? It's like you're looking at me like I'm doing something wrong.
Not yet.
Okay, Pisces. We're not above using that joke to tell another wood-based something or other. You could buy yourself a weather rock and see how it's doing to judge the weather. Or you could just plant a pine tree. Or around here, a palm. How, you ask? Well, pine trees can tell if it's about to rain. Next time you see a pine cone, take a closer look. If it's closed, that's because the air is humid, which can indicate rain is on the way. So this week, there's another use for pine trees, using the saps as a fire starter ingredient. Or as a way to piss off that one guy for letting it drip on their car. Ain't no way it's coming off at a car wash. Yeah.
If you're gonna use sap as a fire starter, though, look at the base of the tree that's had like limbs broken off or hacked off or something like that. For hardened nodules of sap, it's much easier to collect and less messy in the long run than trying to collect running sap. I speak from experience.
This is true. This is true. Those are your horrible scopes for this week. Remember, if you like what you got, I don't really care, because I wrote the stars influence them, and that's just kind of the way that they are. But if you'd like to influence them by asking for a nicer or naughtier one for yourself or someone else, all you need to do is ask. Because I don't run on Duncan, I run on Vanity. Or Tim Hortons, or whatever happens to be full bean available for me at the local store. Or conversely, if you want to actually bribe me, you can do that over at the Coffee page. Coffee.com/Icarus the Lunar Guard. I'll have these posted online at the end of the week as usual. Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, Blue Sky, because that's kind of the way that it works around here. And anybody's got a problem with that, they can take it up with, I don't know, take it up with somebody else later. I don't really
We should
much
have
care.
one that's so naughty that we could only air it on a power of 10.
He's only 2 away from it.
I will give that consideration. It's episode 508 on the docket, Your Honor. No True Sc Patriot. Now, for those of you that are unaware for whatever reason, there have been a number of products available for sale to commemorate. And I hate that in English that is the correct term for it. The previous president of these United States of America, Donald John Trump, otherwise known as Y people, just Y. And amongst the products that are available are apparently flags or signs that you can post, or stickers that you can put on your car, or hats that you can wear, or t-shirts, buttons, that say, amongst other things, and effectively, I'm voting for the felon. Now, relatively near to my home, and there's construction going on one of the main thoroughfares, so I've been taking an alternative path. I don't like it because it means that I have to go uphill when I really don't need to. But, whatever, it is what it is. There's a lot of hills over here in one direction versus another. And as I'm going down one of the hills, and reminding you, I tend to be out in basically the rural area. Not exactly, but I mean, it's definitely getting out there. There is a house with 3 flags out the front. In the center is the American flag. To be expected. To the right, if you're looking straight on, is the flag for the Marine Corps. Normally, you don't see somebody flying one of the flags of one of the military groups unless they've been in it, or they have someone who is very closely associated with it and with them. Family, typically. But then, on the left side, looking at it, is one of those, and I'm going to tell you right now, I intentionally will not link to them in the show notes. I thought about it so that people could see, but I also then changed my mind after doing a quick search and finding how many more there are out there. It's a disgusting number, and I don't say that lightly. One that says, I'm voting for the convicted felon. If this person is an ex-Marine, notice I'm saying ex-Marine. I'll explain why I'm using that term very specifically. That would mean that their previous oath, which was to protect the Constitution of the United States from all enemies, foreign and domestic, which each of the military groups have similar wording, if not identical, because you're supposed to be protecting the government, which is effectively the Constitution, the written out part, the framework of what the government is, the rule book. And if they were at one time part of the Marine Corps, and they are now an ex-Marine, then their support of someone who has shown themselves to be unworthy, and that is the nicest way I can put this, unworthy of the job again, never mind the first time, I am hard-pressed to not call them traitors. I am hard-pressed to not call them that, but yet here we are. Now, I'm going to backtrack and just remind you, here in the United States, if you've been part of the Marine Corps, which is a highly elite group, no lie, just as an organization, the running way of dealing with it is after you have retired from the Marine, you are not a former Marine. You're not an ex-Marine. You're just a Marine. You're not necessarily even going to claim to be retired, even if you have been out of active service. You're just a Marine.
Of course, I'd like to interject real quick, because I actually do work with a retired Marine, and he told me that officially it's retired Marine.
Officially, yes.
Officially.
But
Yes.
colloquially,
That's a different story.
People don't call themselves a retired Marine or an ex-Marine. You're just a Marine.
He said that the only former Marines are the ones who are buried, and that if somebody was kicked out of the Marines, then the what do they call it? Army and the rest of them use similar language. It's
Dishonorable discharge.
yeah, they're not a Marine. They were dishonorably discharged. Yeah. So that this is from a retired Marine that I work with.
No, perfectly.
Because I was asking him about it's funny we actually bring it up because I was actually talking to the guy just a couple months ago about it.
So, if this is a person who was in the Marine at one point, and they are proudly proclaiming they will continue to support a convicted felon, never mind someone who is on trial for doing heinous things to the chain of command, to the safety and integrity of the government itself, I have a real serious problem. And I don't exactly know how to deal with this one. Although I will admit, I have considered various ways of sabotaging lawns in ways that would be otherwise undetectable. I am not going to do any of these. I'm just thinking and fantasizing and considering what could be.
Good boy.
And considering I don't have the programming expertise for an Arduino, I can't do any of this stuff anyway. So there we go.
My guidance would be, if somebody were in a similar situation, ask for my opinion, would be to not engage unless engage first with that person.
Agreed.
Because here's what I've learned working with a lot of the military people that I work with. There are some people in the military who currently actively military who are going to vote for Trump over Harris and Walz. And that's because they firmly feel and believe that he's the better choice for this country. That doesn't make them criminal, and it doesn't make it criminal negligence. He is still a viable candidate. In the letter of the law, he's still a viable candidate for president because of how our laws are written. Okay? Therefore, in that respect, if somebody is knowing what they know about Trump, still voting for him, then I have to assume one of several scenarios that are very common scenarios. There are racist, sexist, whatever. Okay? That he attracts a large group of those people. End of story on that respect. On that, we've all seen how he does it and why. He just is that way. He also attracts people who are attracted to those who are charismatic. Because let's face it, many of his campaigning is extremely charismatic. Is he as charismatic now as he was when he first ran? No, it's hit him hard. His age is showing, and unfortunately, it's not doing well. And Vance is not really helping along much either, because that was embarrassing to watch him order a donut. The other people he grabbed are the ones who feel that they're the gambler's dilemma. They've invested so much into being part of the MAGA scene. They're invested so much in changing their opinion to match that of the MAGA scene and so on, that they're afraid to go back on their heels now and change their mind.
Oh, sunk cost. That's the one.
Sorry, not gambler's dilemma. Sunk cost. Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Gamblers do have sunk cost, suffer from sunk costs as well. That's why I keep thinking of it, but keep calling it the gambler's dilemma. I am terribly sorry.
You know what? I don't know that there's a quote unquote functional difference between the two, but be that as it may, it was just the one that popped to my head. So we can deal with that later.
But the sunk cost fallacy is.
You've invested too much, so why turn around now? Yeah.
Right. The gambler's fallacy is different. It's about event statistics, high events versus low event statistics. I goofed.
Hey, we've said on many an occasion, we're not especially smart people. We're not especially well read on a lot of things.
So if somebody tries to report us that I've gotten my fallacies wrong and that The video should be pulled. YouTube, just watch the whole thing. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, there are some people who are suffering from sunk cost fallacy, and I, as somebody who's been the victim of that before, understand exactly what that's like. And mine didn't revolve around politics, but something still very impactful in my life. And politics are extremely impactful in our life. We can't get away from it because politics affect everything in our life. Um, my son says he hates politics. I was like, well, I had to virtually sit him down online, and we had to have a discussion about why he hates it so much. And what he hates is the mudslinging. He hates a bunch of other things too. And I pointed out to him, it's like, if you want that to change, then you have to change it. You have to pay attention to who's doing what, get out the people who are doing the bad things, and put in the people who are doing the good things. And, you know, so there's a lot going on when I see somebody who understands that Trump's a felon and that he's done bad things and that he's making bad promises. Like he's promising to deport the Haitians population from Ohio, Springfield, Ohio, if he becomes president.
Oh, we're gonna don't go too far into that because we're gonna
I'm
hit
not.
that
I'm not.
piece in particular
I
in a little
understand.
bit.
We'll hit that piece later. But the point is that saying that you're going to take out an entire population of a town, a particular segment of a population of town, who are there legally, by the way, um, that is extremely racist. And you know, it just every time I see Trump supporters, there goes another person who hates women and hates other people of other color other than their own, other nationalities and backgrounds than their own, other religions than their own. We started because we were tired of religion getting shoved down our throat, but it's gotten to a point of where the MAGA group isn't even about shoving Christianity down the throat anymore. It's just talking about let's fuck everything up. You know, it's that bad.
Yeah, and before we move on from that, I do sincerely hope that you reminded him that the level of mudslinging vitriol that has been going on for the last, I hate to say it this way, but basically the last, round it to 10 for me for a second here. It is very much not the norm. I hope you stressed that in particular.
Actually, believe it or not, we've had similar levels within our history of our government where they literally would fisticuff over statements, where they would take out ads in newspapers, in the comics or whatever, and just dirty mudslinging of the type. Granted, it was less. They used better words. They were more creative with the language, uh, rather than base statements. Um, and it was not uncommon for one of them to try to brain somebody else. We've kind of gone back to that, but we're doing it in a digital age. So rather than the two of them duking it out on stage, they're battling out with words and social media systems.
I don't know that that's necessarily.
It's evolved, but it's still this.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't believe that it's necessarily equal or quite the same because, as I've understood it, the stuff that you're referring to that had been in the past was far and away more centered on policy rather than the person, where now it is very much the person is bad. And policy doesn't even come into the equation.
Oh, they used to insult each other, not just their policy, but each other. It's become more. it's become easier to document everything. It's become more public, and it's more easy to reach your audience.
There's something
I
to be
mean,
said for that.
when you consider a time where there was no radio and no television, it was just a printed word, and even then, that was not the common people weren't getting the printed word all the time. Um, yeah, it wasn't. If you give them the same technology we had back then to spread the word, we'd probably be seeing similar things.
So
My thoughts.
so let's kind of back into it
It was
just
the
a
only.
little.
It was the only thing I actually found interesting in history and government courses when I took them in school was not, oh, this person set this policy, and oh, this was the 37th, this was the 30th president, this was the 15th president, this is the 5th president. It was more of, oh, this president died because of this reason, because he got sick, and this president, or these politicians over here beat the crap out of each other, and this person was insulting this one over this, and so on. And then there were these, mudslinging here and mudslinging. That stuff was interesting to me because it was like it was breaking down to human emotion and emotional reactions to things that should have been talked about with logic and reasoning.
So
And we haven't evolved from that.
like I was saying, backtracking just a little bit, IO,
Yeah.
the whole thing about the immigrant population in Springfield, Ohio, came up during the debate. We don't need to
Yes.
mention it word for word, but I don't know if you've seen the live reactions that some people had been recording and such, and TikToking up and breaking it down. The absolute cackles of laughter because of what was said. You wanna make mention to what was said and how absolutely incredibly beyond even racist that whole damn thing was?
Is he talking about The Simpsons or what?
No, he was talking about the population in a specific town in
No,
Ohio.
that was one of the comments I ran across.
Ah,
And I spent 10 minutes just laughing because he thinks Hannibal Lecter is a real person. I guess I think he believed that Wakanda was a real country.
I
So
mm,
I kind of wonder about his mental faculty. I need alcohol. Mental faculties, because he. If he was a relative of mine spouting shit like that, I'd be saying, there, Grandpa. It's time for your muds. It's time for a nap, No, no, Grandpa, it's time for a nap. Because he's just.
yeah. Well, tell him in a nutshell what he ended up saying about this town in Ohio. What was supposedly going on?
That the immigrants were eating people's pets. Now, yes, I do know that there's some cultures that will eat cats, dogs, horses, you name it, they'll eat it. But not Haitians. Haiti people don't wouldn't it's let's just say I used to live in a town that had a couple of Chinese restaurants that had a bad reputation of serving, instead of chow mein, it was chow meu.
Meow, 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 meow. All right. So,
And those, of course, those restaurants were shut down. But
um,
yeah.
there was somebody that I used to associate with whose family member had spent a significant amount of time overseas. And what they found out inadvertently was that cat tastes like rabbit. And that if you go to a restaurant where um, they're serving rabbit as a dish option, you would not know if they had made a legal substitution. At least not if they're just serving the meat, nothing else, no bones, no nothing.
Mind you, the rumor I'm going by is at least 30
Oh no,
years old.
this is not
So
a rumor that cats taste like and rabbits taste similar.
no,
If you think about it, snakes taste similar to chicken, except they have a metallic tinny aftertaste.
but the wonderful news that I found out recently, as in a couple hours ago, was that Laura Loomer is telling our mutual friends. This is from a guy that's Milo or at Nero, I believe, on TikTok, because it's got a blue check mark, or X tweet, whatever. I don't care. Laura Loomer is telling her mutual friends that her intimate relationship with the president led to the best blowjob of his life. His words, according to her. So he is once again cheating on his wife. And this is perfectly fine for the Republicans. And yet they basically crucified a certain president while he was in office.
Of course. Rules for thee, not for me. Hypocrisy.
Yeah.
But back to the whole Springfield, Ohio thing with the pets. The lady who started the whole thing with a Facebook comment was, according to a report, Erica Lee, who's a resident, and she posted on Facebook that her neighbor's cat had gone missing and mentioned that the neighborhood had been suspicious that the cat might have been attacked by the Haitians who lived in the neighborhood. So that exploded into the whole concept of Haitians eating cats and dogs and kidnapping them. And Trump cited it like it was fact, even though the law enforcement of the area pointed out that no, this is not happening. There have been no claim, nobody's called this in. There's been no reports filed.
No credible claims.
Yeah, exactly. And
memory serves, that was the exact wording that was used. No credible. Oh crap! I forget exactly what it was. It was no credible something, and I don't remember what the word was. But
substantiated crime.
The point is that they used their proper wording and everything else to indicate that there's nothing there indicating that this is actually happening. And when Trump made the claim during the debate, the moderators said, "Hey, ABC needs to make a statement that that what we just talked about, that there was no credible claim, blah 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 blah." And they weren't correcting Trump. It was ABC. It wasn't the moderators correcting Trump. It was not at first anyway. At first, it was ABC saying, "We've heard this claim. The ABC as a news agency must report that this is an unfounded claim." I'm really shortening the statement, mind you. And he lost his mind over it.
That's true.
And then when the moderators tried to kind of calm him down a bit, he goes, at one point, I remember him saying, "It was on TV." It was like, dude, if you believe everything that you see on TV, you don't deserve to be president. I don't care who you are.
Yeah,
I don't care if you're Biden, Harris, Trump, Mother Teresa, Jesus Christ, Yahweh, Allah. Doesn't matter. Muhammad. It doesn't matter. You could be any of those people, real, fictitious, or otherwise. If you believe believe everything you see on TV, you do not deserve to be president. End of story. End of list.
Yeah. When your source for a story is cool story, bro, yeah, no, go away. So we went through all that, and the debates showed very clearly different pieces of what was going on. What was believed to be valuable information. which also included, amongst other things, as was mentioned, the possible deportation of literal millions of people in the United States with such a wide net that it is entirely possible that perfectly legal residents of this country could be conceivably swept up, processed, and deported to who only knows where through no fault of their own, simply because their skin tone doesn't match the color stick that you have to go by.
Yeah, and I mean, Trump, when he was making a statement about illegal deporting the Haitian migrants, he called them illegal Haitian migrants on Friday in Las Vegas. Now, here's the thing: a lot of the Haitian migrants are here under what's called the Temporary Protected Status (TPS). Okay, to get under that, it also involves work permits, and they also have to have somebody who's willing to what's the
Sponsor.
word? Huh?
Sponsor.
You sponsor them. Right. So they have sponsors and they have to work. So they get work visas. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. When people are claiming, oh, they're getting our health insurance, I was like, no, they have their own health insurance because they're employed. Well, we need to deport the illegals. Yeah, but they're not illegal. They're here legally. Okay. Well, what about the illegal ones? What illegal ones? Those are legal people. They're legal migrants. There is a time limit on it, and it can be extended based on circumstances such as the status of their home country, terms of war, poverty, food sources, all sorts of stuff. But that's made by our government. And if you don't like that, you need to petition the government, not storm your neighbor's house and say, "Where's my dog?" Especially when your dog's in the backyard barking on a leash because you didn't refill the water bowl. You subhuman, you.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry. Anybody who leaves a dog outdoor and doesn't, refresh the water, food, things like that, give them shelter and all that.
Yeah,
you're subhuman.
That's a thing.
Yeah, I've got a neighbor like that a couple blocks away.
Stephanie's also got a point over here. This could also include residents of your country whose ancestors lived in it before it existed. There's a video that I saw recently. I do not believe that it's real. It was a made up kind of thing where somebody was complaining, saying that they wanted the resident population of Hispanic people speak the local language and go back where they came from.
To Native Americans. Right?
No, better yet, wait. This was supposedly in California, in San Diego. No,
Yeah.
sorry, not San Diego. It was Los Angeles. It was Los Angeles.
I've had conversations about that with people about how they should just all go back to Mexico, and I just look at the people that say that shit and say this was Mexico.
Yeah, and
no, it wasn't. Yes, it was.
According to this piece that I had seen, the person then responded back to the person who is stepping backwards from the title of human, very at an accelerating pace, and said, "How do you pronounce Los Angeles in English?" Which apparently blew their freaking mind, because they didn't realize, oh, right, this is all Spanish territory that we took over. Forgot.
Los Angeles. I think that's Lost Angels or the Angels or something.
The Angels, yes.
Yes.
And
that's why people refer to it as the City of Angels.
Right. And the best part about it is you can tell who's never heard of the name Zorro. and don't understand who he was, what he was fighting for, who he was fighting against. I mean, come on, even the movies with Antonio Banderas, I mean, they didn't get it all well enough, but I mean, it was close enough, really. I mean, come on, people.
Zorro was a real person. I thought he was a fiction
He
character.
he was, but what he was an historical fiction superhero of a sort, kind of the same way that Robin Hood would have been considered not real, but real enough, because in the right time, in the right setting, for the right reason, he was mythologically inclined personality.
So in other words, possibly real, but not provable.
And very likely not real, but fun enough. So, you get away with what you get away with. Kind of the same way that you have Johnny Appleseed, who's a real person, not a really good person. And definitely not what the story said. And Paul Bunyan, who most assuredly did not have a very large blue ox, because ox don't come in blue. Roan, maybe, but not blue. And there's a animal pelt color thing for people to look at. But where I'm going with the whole damn thing is that, how do you propose to have enough people to enforce your idea of rounding up and processing people in the country, millions upon millions of people, circumventing Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights, probably even Sixth? Let's also go with First Amendment. And so, the right to peacefully assemble, the right to due process, the right to not incriminate yourself, the right to be secure in your places of your domicile, and you're secure in your papers, in your person. I mean, there are so many different things where, okay, how are you going to get all of these people in place to be part of that machine? Are you going to deputize the standing armies? Because that is also a big-time literal federal level law no-no. So those who were part of the military, and this is where it finally comes back around to the actual topic, who have been hearing all of these ideas, all of these, what are you going to do? All of these, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the military on native soil for the whole purpose of... Guys, I don't expect everybody that goes through boot camp to be well-versed in the law of what is and isn't permissible with the armies, plural, of the United States, that you're not allowed to use them on local soil. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say it, because I've got Heretic Woman's voice in my head right about now. Come the fuck on. How do you not know this?
I actually got into discussion today with one of the teachers of one of the local California State University branches, about why I need citizenship classes. And she kind of looked at me astonished. Why do you need it? Well, even though Canada and the United States have their history intertwined, I couldn't figure out who the Confederate and the Union soldiers were in a discussion once. Like, I know who the Redcoats were. They were us, but Confederate, Union, who? What? Ah. And we got into more of a discussion about American history and ill education. That was the one thing that I was not taught, that this color was for Confederate and this color was for Union. Don't ask me which color it was. Don't ask me which side. Don't ask me which was the South and which wasn't, because that's still, it fights in my head. It really does.
That's okay. I just tried to think about it myself, and who was the blue, who was the gray? You know what? Truth be told, I don't remember either.
Yeah, I went into more of a discussion about how Jacques Cartier and Christopher Columbus, when they were exploring up and down North and South America and Central America, they were doing it at about the same time, almost to the day. And what they found and what they did, it is part of the mutual shared history. But the citizenship test that I'm going to have to take, if and when I do decide to become an American citizen, that's going to be interesting. The one thing that has me not wanting to become an American citizen is the fact that I can be taxed anywhere in the world if I'm an American. Other countries, they don't generally chase after their citizens for taxes to be paid to their own country, because they are assumed to be paying to the country that they live in, which should be good enough.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
one would think.
I don't know if I want that.
And one other thing, and Tech, I know that you wanted to jump in. Just one more moment. Stephanie's also pointed out, can I point out that your military are less than 1% of your population? They are not enough to make a difference. You're right, if it was just manpower. But you add manpower with the seemingly unending supply of firearms to enforce, or more appropriately, coerce compliance, well, then you don't necessarily need a huge grouping. You just need one person per 30 people.
Not even that. Our arms and armaments of our military make it obscenely. Look, let's say you have a whole town of people who have decided that they're not going to do what they're told, and the military is sent to deal with them. And they have pointed out to the military that they are armed, they are not afraid to use it, and they even fire off some shots. And let's say they don't kill anybody, but they wound some soldiers. Okay. They've shown that they can wound our military. What does the military do? Not a problem. They backtrack, they circle off the area, make sure nobody's in or out, and they go, "You've got X amount of time until we take action, and you're not going to like it. So, what's your choice?" Town collectively goes, "F you," shoots into the circle or whatever, and the military goes, "Okay, not a problem." Point, click, boom, town gone.
Yeah.
Now, could it happen? Yes, yes, it can. Will it happen? Probably not. Who would it have to happen under to happen? The giant Cheeto, because there's no way Harris or Walz would do something like that. But I would not put it past Trump.
I hate to have to remind you, but you do remember that there was one time where they literally dropped 55-gallon drums with explosive stuff on a residential block and leveled it.
Yep.
I forget when the hell that was, the 50s or 60s or whatever the hell it was. Not a good time.
Yeah.
And to answer the question,
we've come a lot further than that kind of stuff.
Yeah, true. Stephanie was asking, how do you process people with a firearm? You don't. You compel.
You give them reasons to put it down, and if they don't,
No.
You
no, my
on a life.
No, the point being of that, if you've got however many people from the military that have been brought in to help, quote unquote, help move these people along so that they get processed because they're swept up in whatever net, they don't necessarily need to be the ones doing the pencil pushing. They just need to be the ones to coerce compliance. And unfortunately, if there's one thing we've learned in this country, there are people who are more than happy to go ahead and be bullies to no end. And we've already got them. Armed bullies, gangs of them, forcing compliance all over the country. They're usually called Leos. Take with that what you will. And no, I'm not being snide at you. It's that I hate thinking about it because there are a lot of people that I know who have been in law enforcement that I thought otherwise wouldn't have been, but the more I hear, the more I really have to wonder, and the more I question how these people have been. Because I have no way of knowing. And it's distressing. So, what are these ex-military, these retired military, or even still active military people doing backing someone who has been shown to be an absolute liar, an absolute swindler, cheapskate, investigated, found to be complicit in who only knows how many underhanded, illegal activities that would make some people not just blush, but have their blood run cold through their veins? Is it just a matter that they just see his bully matches my bully, so all good? Because I really, really have to wonder what some of these people are being churned out as when they come through the machinery of the military. I mean, I understand that, you go through training and you are to follow directions or people die. I get that. But at the same time, I also know full well, military is supposed to be, you need to be taught why things work the way that they do. Chain of command is for a reason, and even the lowest enlistee, if they are given an illegal order, needs to be able to determine it's an illegal order for themselves and be able to say, no, I will not follow an illegal order. And then there are people who are 25, 30 years in who are just like, yeah, I'm still lifetime military career. Yeah, I'm following this guy. Why? What's the problem? And don't see anything wrong with it.
After about a month coming here, I called up my father. My father, retired military, retired Marine, retired because he basically almost got paralyzed. There's no way he's going to go into the front or actually be useful, other than maybe his mind. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, right. Phoned him up, said, "Hey, Dad, I'm in the States. My boyfriend is willing to pay for the sponsorship. Are you willing to actually pay for the cost of it? Like, sign all the forms and stuff?" "No, go back to Canada." And I was just flabbergasted. And
As
that,
a resident citizen of the United States who was born here, I can honestly say if anybody from Canada said, "Hey, I'm looking to move to America," my first response is, "No, don't. Don't.
yeah,
Yeah, go
Doesn't
to
matter what section of Canada you come from. Don't."
I just wanted the sponsorship so I could stay here legally so that I could do things legally like work and stuff, considering he was born here and only due to small, insignificant technicalities that are actually very significant and very, uh, am I not allowed to actually act on what should have been my birthright? Children of AWOL armed forces personnel that did not have the 5 years after they were 14 citizenship, and because you're AWOL, you're not considered to be in American soil. You children do not get citizenship. Doesn't matter if you're married to their mothers or not.
AWOL just means away without leave.
Yeah.
Oh, so he was away without leave in another country.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Canada. And apparently, if he had waited like an extra month or two when he did come back, it would have been pardoned. And it wouldn't have been on his record. Da, 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 da. But he has had 52 years to fix this. He's had 52 years to sponsor me. He's had 52 years to actually actively be my father. Yeah, right.
Folks, if you're in Canada and you're thinking about coming down to the US for something other than 2 weeks of vacation to maybe relocate, may we kindly suggest none of it? Simply
No.
because you want to be away from like everything and everyone? Yeah, none of it. Yes, you
No.
have to learn how to, properly process whale blubber in order to, have some heating oil every once in a while for the 8.5 months of winter that you're locked in under permafrost. But I mean, come on, it's none of it. What's not to love about having the Northern Lights to read your book by?
Simple. Cost of groceries.
Oh, okay. So you have them dropped
they're
by
not-
an aircraft going overhead. Who cares? It's fine.
No, there's places
Kidding.
in Nunavut where
Kidding.
it could take months in order to get a resupply.
I know. I'm kidding.
Oh,
Although it would be really cool to be able to have like a designated spot in your yard where there would be a literal bomb drop of supplies to a house from a single engine plane going overhead. That would be actually really funny, really cool to me.
okay.
Impractical as all shit. Yes, I know, but
Tide Pods in Nunavut from a year ago, $85.
well, that's because they're vintage now.
No, this was the price. Grocery receipt. Lard, $15.
Like I said,
Baking mixes. Oof. Cereal, $11. This is like a year ago.
Well, don't forget the certain grocery chains are being investigated and being sued by various governments.
No. This is the cost of transporting transporting foods above Edmonton, above Prince George, above I'm not sure exactly where it is in the other provinces, but above that
Did you
there
live up that way?
yes, I lived in a little itty bitty town for 2 years.
Well, I think you went a little too far south. You should have stopped right above, New York or something.
Where do you think my father is? I didn't want to get anywhere near him.
yeah. And for anybody that's wondering, where is Nunavut? It's just about half a reindeer carcass away from Santa's hotel.
There used to be 2 territories, Yukon Territories and the Northwest Territories. Northwest Territories was split in 2/3 was Nunavut and the other third is the Northwest Territory. And the prices above a certain parallel are just in fucking sane.
What?
If you were lucky, you could actually get a Northern Citizens Allowance, but you have to be working there. I tried to get it both years I was there, but I didn't qualify because I wasn't working. I couldn't find a job the first year, and the second year, I was kind of maternal, and therefore,
So to reword my statement, anybody from Canada who is looking to move south for a slightly lower cost of living, maybe better conveniences and so on and so forth, stop before you cross over the line into the US. That's all I'm saying. Work
yeah.
within that area because you really don't want to be here. Not right
Oh,
now, not until this shit calms down between our government as well as our religions.
Yeah, and
oh my goodness! JD Vance has put his foot in his mouth again.
that is
You
par for the
know,
course for J.D. Vance at this point.
Americans without children should face consequences, he says.
Yes,
So,
because a
yeah.
lack of we're actually, believe it or not, we're experiencing a population decrease in this country. Um, Especially a lot of the younger generations right now are not having children because they understand, the kind of
Fuckery.
no, the kind of financial burdens and economic burdens it puts on not only themselves but people around them. And the the problem with that is that you have these very old people are going, well, who's going to take care of us? Why aren't there more higher population of people working and putting money into the various funds that our retirement comes out of? Why is the funding for Social Security not as high as it should be? Because there's less people putting into it. It's going to go down. And Japan had this still ongoing, decreasing population, and they're feeling the pinch, especially the older generations in nursing homes, things like that. And it's happening here too. It's just beginning. And the politicians and other people who make money off of keeping the status quo are like, oh no, we're actually going to be losing money. We need to mandate forced births and more people having children. And so, yeah, that's part of the reason for that kind of bullshit.
If they want women to have children, women should be paid to have children
Oh,
and
no, no,
to raise them. If they're not
no,
being paid to have children and to raise them,
no.
they're not going to have children because
They
it
don't
won't
care
be.
about that. They don't need to pay women to have children. Women should just be thankful that there's somebody there for them willing to get them pregnant. Don't you know how to properly think about this? Come on.
there is something to be said for that. And I do remember hearing that Vance had made that statement and more like it over the last week or two. It it's simply incorrigible. It's simply it makes no sense
Yeah,
in so many different ways.
he's a severe pro-birther, and the religious idiots are lapping it up.
Yep.
And it's not just that. It's just
And you're right. It isn't just that, but it's just another piece of it all.
you want women to have children, you have to pay them. You have to pay them to take care of their children. You have to pay them to have the children. You have to make sure that they have medical care from conception till their grave. But that's not going to happen. Oh no, if she got pregnant, it's her own fault. She should have kept her legs together.
Right.
Excuse me while I start to growl.
Besides, the argument of having to pay women to have children, that's never going to go over. Not when the argument stands that, well, before there was a concept of money, human beings were having children. End of story.
Will
And
still
then
be
they'll
born, but the amount
they'll
of
be
children.
dismissed. Your concerns are just easily dismissed by those kinds of people.
And the thing is, those kinds of people are also the ones who have said, I'm not going to say keep saying, have said, I'm trying to figure the right way. You know what? Once upon a time ago, there was another one of the podcasters out there, Ishmael, who used to run Angry Black Rant. He was a really, really smart, really funny guy. He died several years ago. But I had asked him about whether or not there were certain words and phrases that I should studiously avoid, even if I'm talking about stuff in context of historical context. So, taking a page from him, I'm going to use not bad language, but pointed and very likely indelicate wording, because it is the best, most accurate way of describing it without coming across as a bigot myself. Do I have preconceived notions of what people are like? Yes. Because I do. Everybody does. Am I racist? I do my very best not to judge people by anything of how I see them, but on how they behave. Do I succeed all the time? No. Do I do my damnedest? Yes. Because I've learned from people that I've got that bias in my head, because I am human and I've grown up and I'm fallible and brain does stupid things. There have been times where people who have been in the majority Caucasian population, who have very pointedly said, and I'm only just barely paraphrasing, if we don't have more babies ourselves, we will be pushed out of being the dominant group in this country by Muslims who are having babies hand over fist in order to push us out and become the dominant population in this country. Again, reminding you, I am trying to say it as clearly as possible, in a way that, even though it is stuck in the back of my throat with bile, because this is what has been said, this is the ideology that has been out there, and I am firmly convinced J.D. Vance is one of those people that ascribed to the very same terminology and ideology, because they don't want to become the other. Or as somebody else put it in a wonderful meme, you talk about second-class citizens as if there's something wrong with that. You haven't been treating second-hand citizens poorly now, have you? Which, of course, they have, because otherwise they wouldn't be second-class citizens, they would just be citizens. And I hate the fact that I remember. I hate the fact that I remember about this, because parts of this came up after the terrorist attacks in New York City and Washington, D.C. And the place that I was working at the time, one of the biggest guys that was working in the offices with us, I'm not going to describe who he was, what he was doing. He was from, I'm trying to remember where his family was from. He was either Pakistan or very close to. I know that he spoke several Eastern Asian languages, including Urdu and Pashto, and Arabic, and was himself Muslim. And I remember after the stuff hearing all this stuff that was going on, because of course here in the United States, that's exactly the kind of reactionary shit that goes on.
Yep.
So,
and if you think Canada is immune to that,
no.
I've got a bridge to sell you. Actually, I've got some land in West Van to sell you. It's beautiful. It's seaside.
Yeah,
It's
unfortunately,
gorgeous.
that's one of the things that we've unfortunately exported out to so many different places in the world. Not saying that Canada didn't have it grow up on its own, because people are still people, but the distillery that is the United States of making this. Holy balls, man. So the idea of these ideologies being instilled and ingrained and being condensed and unofficially codified into the strata that is the military machine of this country. Am I nuts that this is what I think that I'm seeing? Because I don't want to believe that's what I'm seeing. Because I would love to believe that the military, people going into it, had the best of intentions. And I know for well it doesn't happen 100% of the time. But the vast majority, I believe, should have the best of intentions going in to do that job. Ditto with law enforcement. Ditto with emergency services. Ditto with being teachers. Because these are all organizations that should be doing the greatest good possible. In my opinion, and admittedly, my opinion is rather opinionated, I still believe in the higher calling. But these really are the people. These really are the ideologies that are in the military. And the people who have gotten out of the military and they are still clinging to this stuff even after everything that they've been shown and taught and explained how to identify, how to understand, how to look bullshit in the face and say, that's some bullshit. No, not following that. And yet they do.
And yet, if you dare point it out to any of them, they will just rage. And that's the polite term.
Stephanie's pointing out, sorry, it was the Great British Empire, quote unquote, that exported that nonsense to Canada and probably to the USA as well.
It's not just Canada and the US, it's also something that was very common in a certain mustache man land.
It was, but
there's racism everywhere we go.
And every when we go.
Correct.
And that's why it hurts for me so bad. Because I really do think that we are better than that as a society, as a race, as a species. We are better than that. We can be better than that.
The United States used to be a shining beacon of hope for the entire world.
As viewed from the outside.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
As viewed from the outside.
No. Which presidents? President Hoover with the Hoover Dam? That was a make work project. That got people working.
Yeah. Yeah, and as has been pointed out, when we had an actual progressive presidential choice, he got elected 4 successive times. So much so that Congress actually had to go ahead and put into law, oh no, we can't have that anymore, term limit for the president. Because
which was term limits for...
Yes, and there should be. And there should be. There should be term limits for every elected office. Not even for every office in government. It should not be a career. It should be a calling, a time to do your best for a set amount of time, a disengagement time to help train up the next person, and then you're out. And I do still firmly believe that it should be a completely random set. As was once the case, what was it, Greece, I think is when it used to be, that everybody was put into the lottery and people were just picked randomly from the population. Which is an incredibly good reason to have excellent public education, because you don't want people in government randomly who are just complete idiots because they just weren't taught. Everybody's got a good quality education. Everybody is in the hat to be picked to be in government. Okay. I don't have half a problem.
The United States used to be a shining beacon of light. This is how countries should be. We take care of our people. We find them jobs. We do make work projects that actually help the rest of the country. Look at the Hoover Dam. Look at all the electricity that is going to be made. Let's get it done. Oh, you showed up and you have nothing? Well, here's a couple blankets, and your family's coming in a few weeks. Well, by then you should have gotten
Well,
a
that's
couple of
socialism.
paychecks. Yeah.
That's socialism. We have that.
Socialism also is what brought in public health. There was a YouTube video that I saw that was about the health department, about public health, about how it's only a few cents per dollar in taxes. You pay $1 in taxes, there's only a few cents and that goes towards public health in order to keep people healthy. But now it's, oh no, everybody's on their own. Oh yeah, you have to pay
Pull yourself up by your
insurance.
bootstraps.
Yeah, you have to pay insurance. Insurance is the biggest scam. Oh no, you can't actually have that medicine. You got to try all these others first, and then we'll think about it. Doesn't matter if we did this to you last year and the year before. No, you got to try all these other medicines, and when they fail, then maybe we'll actually pay for the medicine that you deserve. But it's going to be our decision whether or not you actually deserve it.
Government taxation is socialism. Period. Full stop. NASA is funded by the government, which means NASA is funded by us, the population. The government is funded by us, the EPA, the CDC. Hell, you want to even point out very clearly the IRS is funded by us. The military is funded by us. When everybody puts into the pot, and then that pot is dispersed by government, that is socialism at its heart. When you boil it down to the very last whispers of it all, that's what it is. What's the difference if it's that people shouldn't be getting a paycheck from the government just because? They shouldn't get a job from the government just because. Motherfucker, do you remember when the recruitment drives were happening to get people to join the army at your local high schools? They're giving them a job. They're giving them a paycheck. They're giving them somewhere to live, somewhere to eat, health care, grooming, legal assistance. And eventually, if they get out in one piece, assistance in higher education, and with loans to get housing. And depending as to how much of them comes out afterwards, some level of assistance with medical care, botched that it might be. So all these people yelling and screaming about, oh, socialism here in the United States, I'd rather be dead than red. Motherfucker, you don't even understand the question. Stop trying to pontificate an answer. I'm sorry. I'm absolutely stone sober tonight. I have had nothing to drink other than coffee a couple hours ago. I'm not drinking wine. I'm not drinking any alcohol whatsoever. I am just that upset.
Okay, guys, what's the Pledge of Allegiance?
It's creepy is what it is.
That too.
Which version?
Thank you.
The one that is generally said
Currently?
by... Yes.
Okay, what about it?
Is there anything in it as well about dangers, foreign and domestic?
No.
Protect the United States?
The currently accepted version says, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. One nation. I'm going to omit the next part because it was added in the Red Scare 50s. One nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you ask the GOP, you can have your liberty and all that stuff. You just need to make sure you keep paying your taxes and you keep doing what we tell you to do and don't rock the boat.
And the fact that...
And the oath about dangers, foreign and domestic?
That is from the
military.
That is from the military when you join. It is an affirmation that you're supposed to take before you are actually allowed to be in, where you are effectively stating, I have every intention of protecting the Constitution to the best of my ability from all dangers. Because, as I said at the top, the Constitution is the framework of the laws of the land.
This is the oath that I will have to take if and when I go for my U.S. citizenship.
Okay.
I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I can't give up my Canadian citizenship. I just can't. And if I, as an immigrant, have to say that sort of an oath in order to become a citizen, isn't that something that all citizens of the United States say at some point? All natural-born citizens, people that were born or were children of armed force personnel born on foreign lands but on technically American soil? Technically.
Wait a minute. The wording on that sounds suspiciously to me, because I don't remember having heard this before. It sounds suspiciously to me like it's a little bit too close to the military oath for my liking. Am I just like too tired, stupid, smooth brain? What? I mean, the whole defending the Constitution thing.
Let's see here.
It gets further.
Hold on.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by law, that I will perform non-combative service in the armed forces of the United States when required by law, that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by law, and that I will take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, so help me, Spaghetti Monster.
So, I'm looking at the same notes. It's let's see what we got here.
Okay, well, part of that I'm suddenly...
Hold on, let me read this. Okay, so it says, I will support and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Okay, that doesn't mean that in defense of said Constitution and law, they will go out with an AK-47 and blow up the bad guys overseas. The part that says something like um, bear arms on a half of the United States when required by law, that's referring to the draft, although we don't call it the draft anymore. They retired that name. They call it something else, selective service or whatever.
Yeah.
But it really is the draft. And if you take the citizenship, then you come into effect of that just like every other citizen of this country, whether you're a naturalized citizen or you're born in this country. It both applies to you. Now, as
Yes,
a
but natural
woman,
borns.
now Io, as a woman, you actually are less affected by that draft than men are. Okay, so
They're planning on changing that.
but they haven't changed it yet. Anyway, I'm willing to bet you've got things going on that would make you uneligible for for it anyway. So, um,
Yeah, according
but
to my father, he was a drill instructor, and he said,
mm,
"Yeah, you won't pass."
yes, don't worry in that respect. But that's the thing, when they're talking about when I'm looking at this, um, the the oath is essentially saying, um, and they even outline it here: support the Constitution, renounce fidelity to any foreign prince, state, sovereignty, what up, yada 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 that you used to before. So if you want to become a citizen of the United States, you were originally under a king, right? You renounce the rulership of that king having any effect on you anymore. Um, that you'll support and defend the Constitution and the laws of the U.S. Now, don't forget, we support and defend our constitutional laws of the United States merely by voting, voicing our concerns, talking to our politicians and people who are getting into politics to become politicians. When we talk to our local police forces and so
Or
on.
or send the finger.
Yeah, you don't supporting and defending the constitutional law of the United States doesn't mean that you will bear arms. Now there is part in there about bearing arms when required by law, and there are laws that can turn regular people into a militia, where you can be drafted. I mean, we have those things. Um, don't forget, you can also be deputized by a sheriff. I mean, look, and if you take the oath of your deputy, you're taking that position to uphold the law. Um, so I mean, you it does not mean that when you take this oath, you are now in the military. It
But
does not.
if all citizens of the United States are supposed to uphold that, um, why are people voting for Trump?
Because there's
There's
nothing illegal about voting for Trump. This is the part that people seem to have a hard time with. I don't want to vote for Trump because I think he's very bad for this country. However, there are people who disagree with me on that. They have gotten to their conclusions, whether by a logical means or emotional means, or however they decided. Maybe their neighbor pissed them off because they wouldn't stop talking about Harris and Walls as an option, and kept nagging them and nagging and nagging and pushing and pushing. They finally said, you know what, I'm going to vote for Trump just to spite you. There are people who in this country will do that. They will do that in other countries. Well, vote for Putin just to spite you because I don't like my gay neighbors. Whatever. It could be any number of things. The point is that there is nothing illegal at this time in terms of voting for Trump. Is it a bad idea? Oh, God, yes. It is absolutely a terrible idea. But it's not illegal. It doesn't break the laws, not at the federal level or the state level. Not right now, it doesn't. Okay. That may change in the future. He may become ineligible to become a president again. Okay. But right now, it's not illegal. And that's the part people need to get through their head. Just because they don't like the guy doesn't mean it's illegal for somebody else to vote for him.
But he's a
People are going to.
danger. He's a domestic danger. He incited acts of terrorism.
He has not been. He has been not been found guilty of sedition.
Technicalities.
No,
And
no, no.
technicalities runs this country.
Hold on.
Or sedition, or
Hold,
did I use the right word?
hold on,
Or did
hold
I
on,
use the wrong word?
hold on.
Insurrection.
Hold on. Is he technically correct? Yes, but that's not the bar that we're going with. The bar is, colloquially, it's known as innocent until proven guilty. Has he been judged by the public with the information that we currently have to have been responsible for all of what we've described? Yes. Is he legally guilty at this time? He is not. Because of that, he is still a viable option for people. The problem is, and there's no other way for me to word this one. The problem is, people think this motherfucker is the way, the light, the truth. And they will follow him through to hell the whole time that he is waiting at the door, pointing the way to let them know that's where you need to go so that I can go and make things work. You are all a sacrifice that I am willing to make. And they don't see that.
And in terms of somebody doing something against the government, there is a famous man who's long since deceased named Eugene Debs, middle initial V for Victor, that in 1920 became the Socialist Party nominee while he was serving a 10-year federal sentence because he was found guilty of urging people to resist the World War I draft. Okay. So because of that, he was put into a 10-year prison sentence in which he, while in prison, ran for presidency. So that was a federal crime he was committed of.
So in other words, there's precedent for
yes, as a criminal, you can still run for president. There's nothing in our laws that say you can't.
It depends on the level of criminality. Meaning, depending as to what you are convicted of, it is possible to no longer be eligible for, and I forget what the right wording is, for position of, I forget what the wording is, position of trust and something in trust. I forget what the wording is, but a lot of it is really going to depend on what federal conviction there is as to whether or not eligibility is no longer viable. But that's a whole other piece that I'm way too tired to try to remember now.
Last I checked, the only reason that you can't run for president is if you don't meet the qualifications. 35 years of age and a couple other things, and you haven't been found guilty of basically causing an uprising against the government. The insurrection. Trump wasn't found guilty of causing an insurrection.
Yet.
Yeah,
like and I say that because, to the best of my knowledge, it has not been tried in a court of law as of yet.
Now there are states that have things about how to get your name on a ballot, qualifications to get on a ballot and such. There might be limiting factors in that respect, but it doesn't prevent somebody from, let's say I go to jail, right? Let's say I've committed bank fraud. Let's say I hacked 3 different banks from 3 different not just three different banks, three different bank lines, Bank of America and two other ones across state lines, right? That is a major federal crime because I've crossed state lines at that point. If we ever watch the movie Hackers and Joey talks about hacking a bank and they smack him in the back of the head, that's because of that. Damn good movie. Anyway, so let's say I did something like that, right? And I don't have that kind of knowledge. That's not my kind of computer expertise. But let's say I was that person and I go to jail. And guess what? I can still run for president for jail. Some party decides they like me. Let's say the Electronics Independence Party. I don't think they exist, but I'm just making them up as an example. They've decided that it shouldn't be a federal crime to hack across state lines because we're still within the borders of the United States. Besides, they didn't actually trace this, that, and the other thing, blah, blah, blah. So they're on my side with this thing, right? They're going to vote for me. Okay. And if there's enough votes, I might be the first president ever to be in jail while being a president.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking at with Trump.
Not necessarily, because he may never go to jail.
I hope he goes to jail.
A lot of other people think so. I mean, you're not alone. And honestly, I'd love to see him pay for his crimes, but I don't think he'll ever see jail as a regular citizen sees jail. I don't think he'll see jail as a white collar rich person would see jail, just because of his fact that he has the status of being a former president of the United States of America. And that gives him certain protections and rights that all other presidents have. And the government is not ready to set a new what do they call it?
President?
Thank you. Sorry, my brain is just not functioning right now very well.
It's
The
okay.
government's not ready to set a new precedent on dealing with a president who has committed a crime beyond what's already been set before us.
Yeah. We have exhausted our time, and I'm getting.
I wanted to bring up one thing that I posted earlier in the show notes: the Satanic Temple and their mischief. Because Satanic Temple, gotta love them. Des Moines, Iowa. The Satanic Temple of Iowa is voicing disappointment over a recent Iowa state policy change that limits events access at the Capitol, impacting their planned reading marathon and a key resource fair for veterans. Now, they had scheduled a multi-day reading of John Milton's Paradise Lost in order to combat a multi-day reading of the Bible that some other group was going to do. And because they did that, 2 weeks after the application, the Capitol complex updated its policies to prohibit multi-day events and restrict organizations to one event per calendar year. This policy change has affected an annual resource fair aimed at helping homeless veterans in Des Moines, and the event may be canceled due to the new venue restrictions. Basically, they can't put it together in one day, set it up, do it, end it, because there isn't enough hours in that one day. The Satanic Temple criticized the policy shift, alleging it unfairly impacts vulnerable populations and hinders diverse religious expression. The reason it was changed was because the Christian right didn't want the Satanic Temple to do their reading and have their Christmas display that they had last year. The one that got destroyed? Baphomet got destroyed? Yeah. But if they don't have the reading, they can still have their Christmas display.
Rules for thee, not for me.
Yes!
We've said that many times on this channel.
The temple is hopeful that Governor Kim Reynolds will sign a proclamation in support of their event, echoing her previous endorsements of religious activities at the Capitol. Basically, they're saying, you guys are a bunch of hypocrites because you're allowing this, but you're not allowing that. What if it was Muslims reading the Quran? Or Baha'is reading the Kitab al-Aqdas? Or Jews reading the Torah? an English version of the Torah, of course, or any other religion reading their religious text, or for that matter, a book group doing a marathon session to raise money.
It's just like politics. You're not one of us, therefore you're against us.
So I found that today, and I just laughed my ass off because of the hypocrisy and what the religious right is doing in order to try and stop the Satanic Temple and, in effect, hurting some of the least privileged in society. And that just, go get them, guys.
Yeah.
ACLU time.
So with that, we are going to have to just call it a night because I'm running out of steam really fast. So
yeah, my brain's getting foggy.
So everybody, of course, as always, thank you very much for being with us. We hope that you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives. You got something to think about for the week ahead. Because Lord knows, sleep is going to be fast approaching for us at this point. As always, over there in the chat, Stephanie, thank you. Hope that everything stays well for you. Take care of yourself. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Io, thank you for your time. Glad you were able to make it. And you take care of yourself this week, hey?
I'm upset because Mariana's Trench was supposed to be here, and I was supposed to see them in concert, and they're not here. And I'm just, I love that band.
Sorry.
And actually, one of my kids and I had a discussion about the fact that they can vote in the upcoming provincial and possibly federal elections. And they said that, well, I said provincial, possibly federal, depends on if Trudeau drops the writ or not, or if the other parties do a vote of non-confidence. That can happen in Canada. We have elections at random. And yes, and I complained about getting disenfranchised last time. And I said to them, you can vote a few different ways. X marks the spot, which is pretty much the only legitimate way to vote. And it doesn't have to be an X, but a clear mark of your choice. This is me talking about how to mark the ballot in Canada. Spoiling the ballot in one of two ways: 2 marks or not marking anything and handing it back, or showing up and then refusing a ballot. That last one is a protest vote bigger than any spoiled ballot could have ever done. And you are the only person who knows how to vote. And congratulations on being able to vote on this upcoming election cycle. Because they're now old enough to vote, and they're actually older than they need to be to vote, but they're now old enough in the election cycle. Their response, that feels copy and pasted. And I said, kinda, but only because I said something similar recently in a discussion, the Harris-Trump debate.
Well, why don't you write that up for the next one?
What?
Write up that stuff for the next show.
No idea.
We'll talk after.
Tech, thank you. You take care of yourself. You have a good week, I hope.
Yeah, you too. I'm got to get some rest. I'm not functioning well right now.
I know that feeling. So, folks, have yourselves a good week. We'll be looking forward to seeing you, of course, again next week. As of the recording of this show, it is now the 15th of September. Starting tomorrow, the 16th, again, as of recording, I will be picking up again my DJ sets back in Second Life. So if you'd like to find out a little bit more about that, you can find me under most social media under the name Shujin Trimble. If you have a problem trying to spell that, that's on you. You've been with us long enough, you should learn how to spell it. Come on, I've learned how to spell your names. Well, I haven't, but come on, it's me. You should know by now. It's easy. So we will see you minimally next week. And wow, maybe we can actually find something that's truly and properly in the religion wheelhouse without having to go crazy into politics again. It'd be really nice for a change, wouldn't it? Welcome to the United States in the 21st century. But in the meantime, thank you for being with us. If you'd like to be in touch with us, of course, all the information is available over at holycrapthevlogcast.com. And there is no phone number anymore, so don't even think about that. Just grab us on the socials if you want, or join us over on the Discord. Information is over in the show notes for that if you'd like to just pop in and say hi. So we will see you then. Until that next time that we're together, as always, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And of course, my lady, as always, we just went through another anniversary of when I first met you, and I left flowers for you again. Because even all these years later, I am still in love. Well, not today, Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. So till the next time we're together, everyone, as always, good night.